What would a collapse of the United States of America look like? I want to talk about that today. I believe that if the United States of America were to collapse, it would not likely be with like tanks rolling down the street. I don't think it would look like a movie. It'll look like what we already see, but a little more chaos, a little more confusion, a little more stupidity every year until it becomes completely unsustainable. It'll come through entertainment. It'll come through politics becoming reality TV even more. It'll come through voters picking their leaders like they're casting a game show, which has already started to happen. It will happen through a media machine more focused on clicks than truth. And if you think that that sounds dramatic, just look around. It's 2025. Trump's back in the White House. And no, Trump, I don't think, will be what causes this collapse, but certainly his second term could be an accelerant. The moment that the kind of downward slide picks up speed will be a critical moment because this didn't start with Trump. The United States has been fraying for a long time. I talk about in my book how Trumpism is really the end result of the civil rights movement starting in the late 50s. But what's happened over time is that we stopped trusting each other. We stopped trusting the system. The people who run the system stopped caring whether they were trusted. And I know that it's very easy to assume that what happened in the Roman Republic could never happen in the United States. But it's also important to know history and that the Roman Republic didn't fall overnight. It sort of slowly ate itself alive. It was corruption, it was gridlock, it was lies, it was power grabs. People lost faith. The elites hoarded wealth. And when it finally collapsed, no one was really surprised. It was sort of the logical endpoint of what they had been seeing. That is really how empire dies. Here is what America's version looks like, much of the elements of which we've talked about, many of the elements of which we've talked about before. We can't agree on basic facts. We fight over science. Half the country thinks elections are rigged. The other half thinks nothing will ever change. Almost nobody trusts the people in charge. And that is the collapse of civic trust. And once that is gone, it's very difficult to build. It's very difficult to rebuild as well. The press is supposed to keep power in check, but corporate media gave up on that a long time ago. Instead, they kind of feed us distractions. Horse race polls, more airtime to nonsense than policy. We saw that with the interview of Bernie Sanders on Sunday by Jonathan Karl. And then now we have a generation raised on propaganda, addicted to outrage, can't tell the difference between news and opinion media, trained to believe politics is just a game. So there is an aspect, or there's this idea of an empire collapsing around you as you scroll through memes on your phone and everything kind of falls off the walls. Plato warned about this. I talked about it last week. Many of you found it interesting. He said that in a broken democracy, the people would eventually choose a tyrant, not because they want one, but because they've been taught to hate everything else. The dumbest, loudest voices take over and people cheer. If that doesn't sound familiar, I don't know what does. Now, meanwhile, the country rots from the inside out. Wages flat, cost of living up, billionaires buying up politicians like baseball cards. And then we have to keep pretending that the same old status quo is going to fix everything. The military bloated, militarized police, protesters treated like enemies by the people who say they defend free speech, dissent punished, people divided. Some would rather see their entire country fail than watch the other side win. And then the part that nobody likes to say out loud is that the collapse often won't come with fireworks. It'll come with boredom. It's really more reminiscent of Aldous Huxley's book, Brave New World, much more so than it is of George Orwell's 1984. At some point, we get used to it. You get used to the corruption. You get used to the dysfunction. You get used to the nonsense. And we kind of stop expecting better. The country still exists. The flag is waving out there. But the soul of the thing, the civic project, the idea evaporates. So this is not about Trump alone. This is about a long, slow decline where Trump kind of held up the mirror to show us what's going on. And if we don't like what we see, we've got a couple of options. You look away or you look towards and you try to stop it. History's lesson, I think, is pretty instructive here. Every empire thinks it's too big to fail until it fails. The optimistic thing is we are starting to see through some of these resistance rallies over the last week, we are starting to see a growing, maybe robust opposition, as what's happening in DC is just the epitome of vanity. And I want to talk about that next. After researching, writing, refining, The Echo Machine, my book, is finally out. This is not just a book about how American politics got so broken. It's also about what's happening right now and what we can still do to stop things from getting worse. Trump's been back in power. The results have been even more catastrophic than many feared, with targeting of political opponents and gutting democratic institutions, laying the groundwork to even further consolidate power. But the thing is that none of this is inevitable. The same forces that brought us here can be countered if we understand how they work and what to do about them. And that's what the Echo Machine is all about. Some say that without corporate media backing, books like this can't succeed. I think we can prove them wrong. You can get the Echo Machine right now at davidpakman.com/echo on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Audible, Kindle, or by calling any local bookstore and asking them to order it. This book is more important than ever. If you care about what happens next, and I do, check out the Echo Machine today at davidpakman.com/echo.